Welcome to Call the Wild Tutorials, and today we're out here on Virunga Savannah, and we're going to be talking about our heads-up display. We're going to be going through each piece of it so that you fully understand it and see how you can use that in hunting. So the first piece, as you can see down here in the right-hand corner, is our compass. Now, in our compass, it not only tells us the direction that we're going, but it also gives us that green little scent cone. And what that means is it actually tells us the direction that the wind is blowing. So for example, if we are facing almost north here, we can see that the wind is coming from the north, it's hitting us in the face, and so that our scent is going behind us. If we were going the other way and we were traveling south, we would see we would be going with the wind. And what that means is that animals further downwind from us, they'd be able to smell us, and a lot of the times an animal will smell you even before it sees or hears you. So we have to be mindful of where that scent cone is when we're traveling. Now the way wind works in Call of the Wild is this way. If it's a soft wind like it is right now, that scent cone is probably wider than what it shows. It's wide, but it doesn't go as far. If it's a very strong wind, that scent will travel further, but it'll be a narrower scent cone. Now, it would be nice if that would reflect right there on the compass. You know, maybe that scent cone would change widths and that little green shading area would change as well. But unfortunately, right now it doesn't. So it's just something that we got to live with. But that's how we can read our compass. Now let's move on to the little green bar. That's our health. And so if we're injured by an animal or we fall too far, that health bar is going to go down. And we can top up our health by using med kits. They're available in store for purchase. And so I don't use them very, very often, maybe when hunting savanna here or on Parque Fernando, because you have some animals that will attack you. So that's your health bar. The next thing we're going to talk about is your heart rate. So as you can see, as I continue to run here, my heart rate is going up. And as my heart rate is ticking away there, it has nothing to do with stamina as far as running goes, but what it has to do with is your aim. So if I would stop and try to aim right now, you can see the wobble is really great as my heart rate is up. And so that happens even, for example, when you stop and you aim and then you press and hold your breath. You can watch here and the heart rate will go up. Now I have some skills and perks in place that allow me to hold my breath longer, but you can see the heart rate is up and now it starts wobbling away. And to remedy that, just unshoulder your weapon and then re-shoulder your weapon and your heart rate after your heart rate is dropped. Now a quick tip for beginners, because I know that when you first start out, that heart rate goes up very, very quickly. Look at where you're wanting to shoot, kind of adjust with your right analog stick. And then once you kind of toy around with it and get it where you want, quickly hold your breath and then you can fire. But I know you don't have a lot of time holding your breath when you first start out, so just be mindful of that. But that's what that heart rate indicator is for. So moving on now to sight. We can see as we're running here, that's right beside the heart monitor is the sight. And what that sight is telling us is that animals can fully see us. We're fully visible. Now, what does that mean exactly? Well, with the skills and perks I have in place, I can run up about 180 to 180 meters to an animal before they become attentive. So let's just say that sight line represents about 180 meters. If we go now into a crouch, we can see when we're moving now that circle has turned into an oval. And so when you're crouching like this, you can get up to about 75 meters before animals can see you. Now when you go down and you have that line with the half circle underneath it, now you can crawl within to about 25 meters. Now, if you are crawling and you get this little white, hold on. When we stop, we get that little white line. We're only visible within about 10 meters. And as you can see, when we crawl into this bush here, now that little sight line goes away, or it's red, whatever color that is, gray. We're pretty much invisible. The animals can't see us. I've almost had animals walk right over top of me. They'll smell you before they see you. So just something to keep that in mind when it comes to that site. Now, the next one over is our sound. Now, when you're in a bush or by a tree, you might move around in a little bit, and like when you're turning, and it might make some noise, but there's no sound being made from that. Just so you know, that little scratchy noise that you make when you're turning by a tree or a bush, it makes no sound whatsoever for the animal to hear. But as you can see, as we're crawling here, the sound bars start to go up. If we go over to the crouch position, we can see we're making a little bit of more noise. If we stand and we start walking, you can see our bars go up even more. And then if we're walking, it drops one bar. Now, once again, sight and sound kind of go hand in hand. And what I found with the perks and skills that I have, having the soft feet skill and having the improvised blind skill, the animals, once again, you can run up to about 180 meters. You can walk to about 120 meters. You can crawl to about 75 meters. And then you can crawl to about 10 meters or 15 meters away from an animal. And your sound is also dependent on the surfaces that you're walking on. So, for example, if we would start running here on the stone where it's flat, you can see it doesn't make as much noise as if we're on the dry grass. We can go up almost to 2 red bars there on that dry grass. But if you're on pathways, solid surfaces, different types of grasses, you can see that the sound is constantly changing. So be aware of the sound, and because, once again, animals will often spook because they hear you or see you. So now up above in our HUD, you can see there it shows us the amount of ammunition we have in in our magazine, I should say. And so if we fire off a round, you can see now in our magazine there's only 3 rounds. The next one beside it shows 158. That shows how many rounds of ammunition we are currently carrying. And last but not least, to the far right, you can see we have our active perk, which is zeroing, and it'll show you what your active perk is, but it also, when we cycle through it, it will show you what we're zeroed for. So we'll talk about zeroing in another video. So that's a quick tutorial on what your HUD is and how it works, and using all of these things in together and being mindful of your scent, your sight, and your sound especially is going to help you with having successful hunts. So from Call of the Wild Tutorials and the lovely Virunga Savannah, happy hunting.